Oof. This might be a controversial one. Hello and welcome to FTTR. I am Hugh McQuaid, and today we are talking about my top 5 wrestling shows of 2023. But before we dive into that, please hit subscribe, please like this video, please comment your thoughts down below on what your favourite wrestling show of the year was in the year of our Lord 2023 as we dive into this. So, show of the year. That's always a big question because there's a lot of shows, there's a lot of wrestling in a year. So to consolidate that into a list of 5, that's a tricky one. That is a tricky one. So I've got to always start these lists off by saying that I did not watch every show of the year. These are my personal choices. And while it may get controversial once I say the honourable mentions, we will dive into it and I will try and justify my reasons for that. But let's have a valid conversation. Let's not get aggressive in the comments or anything like that. Secondly, still under the weather, still a bit croaky. So apologies if I sound a little weird, a little snotty, a little congested. Now, with all that grossness out of the way, shall we just dive straight in to the honourable mentions? So if this was a year where I was doing top 10 shows of the year, I probably could have filled that out, but I thought I'd narrow it down to 5 just to be a little bit more concise because there's a lot to talk about regarding shows and a lot of matches to sort of go through. So it's top 5 list. So my honourable mentions, let's dive into them right now. So we have AEW Revolution featuring the Iron Man match between MJF and Bryan Danielson. I have Forbidden Door. AEW Forbidden Door was so close to making my list. Elimination Chamber featuring the incredible match between Sami Zayn and Roman Reigns. And what will probably get me the most hate here, my other honourable mention, is WrestleMania 39. Now, let's talk about that. WrestleMania 39, I think, for me personally, if I'm grading this, if I was just grading Night 1 would be on my list. However, Night 2 for me did not deliver as much as WrestleMania Night 1 did. So yeah, overall, Night 2 of WrestleMania, it just missed out on getting WrestleMania in the top 5. And it was a difficult list. I know this is controversial because I've seen WrestleMania being ranked, top tier on a lot of other people's lists. That's just how it sat for me. That's just how it sat for me personally. Please do not attack me. I am a nice boy. So, let's talk about the top 5. Let's get straight into it, starting with number 5. So just edging out WrestleMania to get into the top 5 for me was the Royal Rumble 2023. I thought this was an awesome show, 2 awesome Rumbles with the correct winner, particularly the Men's Rumble doing the thing of the big long match at the end. Really loved that. This was a nice short card, considering it's got Royal Rumbles on. 5 matches. It didn't outstay its welcome to me. You got a lot of good action in there. You had Bray's last match, which hindsight, was the match with LA Knight, the sort of feud that really sparked LA Knight. And it's sad to think about that, And then you had the big angle at the end with Sami Zayn turning on Roman Reigns. Killer angle to close out the show. And yeah, the Royal Rumble for me was a fantastic show. One of the best Rumbles, particularly making up for the debacle that was, last year's Rumble, which was severely underwhelming. And yeah, very happy. I was very happy with the Royal Rumble this year. Coming in at number 4 for me, we have NXT Battleground. Now, this was a big surprise for me. I just tuned in for one match, and that was the Dijak Ilya match because I thought it looked sick, and I was very excited to see that last man standing match. But overall, this was a fantastic card. I really, really loved the opening triple threat between Wesley, Joe Gacy and Tyler Bate. I really enjoyed the British Rounds Rules match, which was a nice little bit of spice thrown in there between Noam Dar and Dragon Lee. And the only downside for me was the Gallus Creed Brothers match. I think the main event between Bron Breakker and Carmelo Hayes was awesome as well. And Tiffany Stratton and Lyra Valkyria was also class. And to top it all off, the cherry on top was the fact that Ilya and Dijak had a match of the year contender. I think top to bottom, this sort of reminded me of what NXT could be in the TakeOver days, and I was very, very excited when I saw the card and sort of put all this together. And when I watched it, it was awesome. I really, really loved it. Really loved it. It was a fantastic, fantastic show. Coming in at number 3, we have WWE Backlash. Backlash was so good. Like, so good. And I think this goes to show that a crowd can not just make a show, but add to a show. Because this is one of the best crowds I think I've seen in all of the years that I have watched wrestling. They made every match feel fantastic from top to bottom. You know, the Zelina Vega Rhea Ripley match, which could have just been a squash, was elevated by the crowd. And then we talk about that match. That match being Bad Bunny versus Damian Priest, which was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. It was a great match that was heightened by all the drama. You know, the Carlito return, the insane spots. It felt like an Attitude Era pay-per-view in that regards when this match hit. And I was a big fan of the 6-man tag as well. Cody Brock was pretty good as well. Maybe it shouldn't have main evented. Probably should have had Bad Bunny in that spot. But there was a lot of good on this show. It really was a lot of good, and it's really stuck out for me. It stayed in my head. I think that's the thing with Backlash. Backlash has, with all the WWE shows that we've had, like Survivor Series, it's just sort of always been there. I've always been thinking about Backlash and that entrance. So yeah, really, really happy with Backlash, and I'm happy that it's made the list. So coming in at number 2, we have what is probably going to be considered my hipster choice, my, indie choice that not a lot of people have seen, but I highly recommend you check it out because it is, for me, my second favourite show of the year, and I think this is where I've got to also add in the asterisk that I was there for this show, so therefore it does stand out a little bit to me, and that is Progress Wrestling Chapter 159, Wonder Brawl, emanating from Manchester. This floored me. This absolutely floored me because it was the perfect blend of every form of wrestling. You had the big comedy match between Charles Crowley and Matthew Rayrolt, the most dramatic match of all time, which was amazing. You had a New Japan-esque match between Luke Jacobs and Yoshiki Inamura. You had a really hard-hitting number 1 contendership match for the Women's Championship between Lizzie Evo and Kanji. You had the big 6-man tag that furthered the main story of Progress at the time between Lycos Jim with Warren Banks taking on Dominatus Radium. And then you had a class main event as Riho defended the Women's Championship against Lana Austin. This had everything, absolutely everything you could want out of wrestling was on Wonder Brawl, and it was packaged in a show that did not overstay its welcome. Every match delivered, and I've not even spoken about the high-flying matches. The insane high-flying matches, one with Leon Slater taking on Francesco Akira from United Empire, and one with Jack Bandicoot taking on Robbie X. This is a show that I highly recommend. If you're sick of hearing me talk about Progress Wrestling, that's fine, because I do talk about it a lot. Then I just recommend you check out this show, because this show will get you hooked. It is a fantastic, fantastic wrestling show that will fly under the radar this year, but it is second on my list. And coming in at number 1, I think you can probably all, from what I said in the last entry on the list, you could probably guess what number 1 is. And it is a totally biased choice. It's a totally, experiential choice. I get that. But number 1 for me is AEW All In Wembley. Because there's just nothing like it that I have experienced. Being a part of that atmosphere, of all those people in Wembley Stadium and, listening to the Acclaimed make their entrance, booing CM Punk when he came out, cheering for Joe, listening to MJF's entrance, the finish, the double down, double 3 count was just mental. And I loved every second of it. I loved every second of All In Wembley. And it will be a memory that will stay with me forever. And I think that's, I think the matches were great. I think the angles were great. I think everything about All In Wembley was perfect to me. And it'll always stay with me for that very reason. And that is why it tops my list. Purely biased choice, because I was there. But it's a biased list. It's my favourite list. And that tops it. AEW All In London. Yeah. No words. No words for me. But I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. Are you a fan? What is your favourite wrestling show of 2023? Let me know down in the comments below and I'll try and reply to every single one of them. Thank you all ever so much for your support and have a nice day.